221B Baker Street. The Master Detective Game is a board game featuring Arthur Conan Doyle's fictional detective Sherlock Holmes and developed by Jay Moriarty in 1975, and sold by the John N. Hansen Co. in the US since 1977. The players have to solve cases using the clues provided by visiting locations on the board such as 221B Baker Street, Scotland Yard, apothecary and pawnbroker. The original game has 20 cases, but there are 10 sets of 20 cases each for a total of 200 cases available for play. The game has been licensed for sale in the UK, Canada, Australia and New Zealand. A sequel game, 221B Baker Street, Sherlock Holmes and the Time Machine, came out around 1996, but is no longer published. Gameplay. Before the game starts, a case is selected, and one player reads the case file. This fills in the players on the background of the case as well as listing the location of each clue in the case booklet. A place may provide no clue, or only a part of one. Clues may also be entirely irrelevant, or throw a player off entirely. Clues often are in the form of a riddle, especially multi-part clues. Play begins with each player at 221B Baker Street, from which the players visit each of the 14 locations on the board. Movement is decided by the throw of a single die. Upon entering a location, the player may read the back of the card containing the case. This consists of a list of locations and a number assigned to each one. The player may then secretly read the relevant paragraph in the back of the rulebook, which is the clue. Each paragraph may or may not contain evidence of note and the clue may be cryptic. A time limit to read the clue is recommended, after which the book must be closed and play passed to the next player. If a person wishes more time, then he must stay for an extra move to get another attempt. Allowing some players more time than others is not unknown. If the player believes that they know the solution to the case, they may return to the starting point. Upon returning to the starting point, the player must announce the essentials of the crime. Typically the culprit, the weapon used and the motive. Some cases may require other items to be revealed, e.g., culprit, motive, location of stolen items. This is outlined in the case introduction. Having read aloud their solution, they inspect the rulebook and look up the entry given for the correct solution. If correct, they must read it aloud to confirm. If not, they stay silent except to announce their failure and are excluded from the game. It is possible for all players to be excluded. 3 additional twists are available. The carriage depot can also be used to move immediately to any point on the board, in which case they cannot view the clue, although they may view the clue, then wait for their next turn before taking a carriage. Also, each player begins the game with 2 markers, one is a key and the other a warrant. Upon leaving a location, the player may use their warrant to bar access to all other players, who must expend their own key card to remove it. Only one of each card may be held by a player at one time, although replacements may be gained by visiting Scotland Yard or the locksmiths. 221B, Scotland Yard and the locksmiths may not themselves be sealed with a warrant. A warrant can be used to obstruct other players to locations with helpful clues, or placed in locations with useless clues to convince other players. Such a location is useful. Format of clues. Clues come in 3 basic forms. Descriptive, e.g., Mr. Fowler, the baker's assistant, was seen arguing with Mrs. Turnbuckle earlier that evening about his unpaid rent, or Holmes reasons that a petty pickpocket, such as Hobson, would not by himself know how to break her bank safe. This may or may not be relevant. In the case of the latter, it points either to an accomplice, or that Hobbs has otherwise unknown skills, or that Hobbs is not involved. In the case of the former, it may reveal both the killer and potential motive, or it might be simple coincidence. Another possibility might be, was there more than one weapon? Or had the weapon been reloaded? If reloaded, then by whom and when? And in either result, what does this mean for the case? No clue. literally as stated. Weapon, killer, motive clue, e.g., motive clue, I, extremely cold. In this case the clue is assembled like a game of charades, forming syllables, words or phrases from clues which must be assembled. The full sentence composed of all its parts will often then be a cryptic statement pointing to the solution or a literal speaking of the solution. For example, a two-part killer clue might spell the offender's name. The I at the beginning of the example given indicates this is the first syllable, word, fragment of a phrase that contains three fragments. The other two will be in other locations. Locations: 221B Baker Street, chemist, bank, carriage depot, docks, hotel, locksmith, museum, newsagents, park, pawnbroker, theatre, boar's head, tobacconist, Scotland Yard. The two locations with multiple entrance/exit positions can be used to gain a shortcut. The player must stop upon entering but can leave one turn later. In the case of a race to the end, this is invaluable in the case of the park as it occupies a whole stretch of the board and one end is directly adjacent to 221B. With average die rolls it would take 6 moves to move the whole length of the park by normal means rather than the 2 used by moving through it. The carriage depot is also invaluable in this race to the end situation. Expansion sets. 9 expansion sets with additional cases were published, numbered from 2 to 10. The board game 221B Baker Street was created and copyrighted by American writer Jay Moriarty in 1975.